Hi, good morning. David Boje here, about to jog. You can see the sun over Caballo Mountains and the lake. We're about to approach the gate. Through the gate we go. We can't be late. Here's what the thing is for today. We're going to look at Anthropic, its leadership. They left OpenAI shaking the dust off their feet as they left. They felt that AI was being used without ethical purchase. So here's what I'm going to suggest that they purchase. First, I'll recommend the book I did with Jens Larsen and Lena Brun, 7 Principles of True Storytelling, ... But I'm going to give it a twist. In all the training we do with clients, we start with Mikhail Bakhtin's Toward a Philosophy of the Act. In that book, around page 5 and 6, and this is no trick, no tricks. Bakhtin has 2 kinds of answerability. One is the special answerability of the onlooker, the bystander, the person computing an ethical purchase, an ethical product, an ethical AI. And that's all well and good. But you really ought to, you really should look at the second answerability. It's called moral answerability. You have no alibi in the once occurrent eventness of being or not intervening. If you have the capacities and you're the only one there, don't swear. Just roll up your sleeves. Don't be a pair. In today's session, I want to confess I don't consider myself that good a free verse poet. Now all the comments are coming in. Everybody's saying they like that. But here's a fact, Jack. No matter how late you start becoming a free verse poet, the whole point of it is to sow it. Sow a seed in your life. Reap a tree. And that's where we're going today. We're not going to flee moral answerability. We're headed to the lake. It's a fake lake. It's really the dammed up Rio Grande with an E on the end. That long river being choked, starved to death, as too many people are trying to live on it, and it's on its way to death. But before it dies, and as the AI wars continue, I have a solution, and it's called no alibi training. In no alibi training, the 7 top AI corporations, their leaders, design a special curriculum for each that is a bit beyond their reach, but I think they can stretch into and leap across the breach. So that begins my poem for today. And without delay, I'm heading for the circle of trees. And I'm going to show it to you soon as we come around this mesquite tree. You know, some of them live to be 4,000 years old that form a circle. I don't think these trees grown by the ocean are that kind of species of tree that are going to live for 4,000 years. But they'll live for a generation or two. That's my bet on the future. And this is what I unfolding. Let me get right into the molding. As the current crop of AI trees, as I call them, what's a metaphor? Go figure. Anyway, as this AI industry matures, I believe that the project started by Anthropic and its leaders that walked away from OpenAI. The project they called Panama, and I know not why. Panama is a country. I'm not sure what the meaning of it is. But anyway, they came up with a group and purchased a bunch of books in all different disciplines, including literature, and I hope poetry, but we don't know. The list itself is under a court seal, and it's intellectual property as well. That don't let your head swell. My my point is this: as I approach the trees and identify the ones for Anthropic and its leaders that boldly declared, no, we won't participate in autonomous AI drones. We won't participate in surveillance of the human population. That is a bridge too far. It's something that will mar us and have an amazing result. So as we look at the trees from left to right, the ones spoken for, the ones that might be, these are two good candidates. We'll come back and take a look at those trees. Here are other candidates that shoot straight up. This one had a catastrophe early on, it looks like, and there was a bigger branch, probably got hacked off as an infant. This one goes way up. It's not any of these other ones. They're all spoken for. So let's go back to these trees that have a V. So here is a big trunk with a V shooting up, canopies way above. Not much action as you move up. Here's another tree. And here you can see a branch cut off early on, two branches sewn together. A small offshoot to the right, but it's dead. That could be open AI. And it shoots up and they split into a V. And this one goes up and has more offshoots that are vertical to the ground, horizontal to the ground, I guess. And let this one be the AI. So its V is higher up. It's had a branch it had to jettison. It had a branch it had to kill, or it died, it atrophied. Other branches shooting out, a big V, and one further up, a V, and another V. A really glorious canopy. So let that be the tree. So what we noticed thus far is each tree has a par value if we were playing golf and a handicap. And right now, the whole AI industry has a handicap. And I'm going to include Anthropic in it. Sorry, Claude. Uh, I think the training that we could do, the no alibi training, I'll see if I can rustle up a true storytelling crew. I'm doing a presentation in Europe in a week or so on Zoom. And I'll pitch the idea of the way to go, or one potentiality, a wave to collapse in the quantum universe. And this is what I'm thinking about it. I'll have to go to some other true storytelling tribes. There's some across the USA, and they may want to play. And maybe the Enthinkment, the new group that meets, well, the old group that meets, but not asking anybody to join, just having office hours, see who shows up on Tuesdays. As I do free verse. So it's time to get back. That's enough rehearse. I can hear campers in the background and campsites nearby, no doubt by the lake. Mistake, is not a lake, it's fake. It was once a grande river. And what a sight to behold. Let me digress a bit and talk about the topic I'm supposed to address, redress, and confess. And that is, I don't consider myself worthy to be a poet, a free verse poet, like Whitman and Rilke and Edgar Allan Poe, and the author of Compliment de Petit Cheval Blanc. So go up the hill, wave goodbye to the fake lake. Not forever, but à demain, as they say in French. I know French, by the way. And I did learn poetry there, you friends, although I didn't know what to do with it. And now I do. I'm 78 years old. Is it too old to learn? Think of George Burns. He yearned to learn. When he was retired and nobody wanted his comedy act, he spent the next number of years, was it a decade, in his 90s? He had a comeback. I'm not here asking for a comeback. That's an outcome. I'm more appreciating the process that in my old age, the last chapter of this life, why not embrace free verse poetry? Why not admit I'm a novice, I'm an apprentice, have much to learn from the masters, but I do study the masters before I come to preach. And this is my sermon that I have to teach. It's okay to have a non-alibi. In other words, there's no alibi for not getting involved if you have what it takes, or even if you have to shake loose and step up to the occasional caboose. What I'm trying to say is this. My poetry, for me, is bliss, a vision of the world as it could be, not the world as it is, a way to escape the war of all against all, the Humean curse, a way to put ethics not in your heart, it's already there in your soul. We're not with each of the masters that write the books on ethics, Rawls, Bakhtin, Immanuel Kant, even Aristotle's ethics. He tried to teach to Alexander the Great. Okay, so it didn't take, but maybe this time it will. So I propose non-alibi training. If you want to review the 7 principles, we've already explored them and stated them this morning before I started, and give it each a tint, a hint, a flirt with Mikhail Bakhtin, sort of philosophy of the act. Let me say a couple things about the book you may not know. I know it well. I've taught it for decades at universities and speaking engagements around the world. And I'll teach it again in Brisbane in October when I go to the universities there and work with Rickson, the leader of the anecdote movement. I usually write something in his book with Grace Ann every other year, something on how to have a conversations. And it's interesting. We're doing a book, Andrew Rickson and another editor, and the publisher wanted us, meaning Grace Ann and I, to write a new chapter on the dark side of leadership. I'm laughing, ha ha ha, because that's exactly everything I've been studying. And it's probably a spine. So many spines in this book, Antara. I spell it because, well, the transcript will screw it all up. WTF. And I need to speak explicitly to Antara. I call it Antara. I call him, her, them, the Antara, because he has ethical purchase, a company that points, oh, no, I'm sorry, company. Well, a compass from the company that knows what is true north. But I have a way to make it truer still. No alibi training. Because when push comes to shove and we look to the future, not just from the past, not just the present mingling and wrangling, but our obligation to the future, not just humanity. I'll tell you who needs training in no alibi, and that is everybody that's camping here at the lake. Raise your children to not put steel and iron stakes in trees, not to chop them down because, well, too lazy to go to the 7-Eleven and buy some wood, and instead chops off a big branch of a tree, more than one. I see of the candidate trees there, the ring of trees, I would say not just the majority, but say 80% have had one limb hacked off, a whole big branch alive, and it kills a part of the tree. And then they flee. They take most of their stakes from their tents. They certainly take their boat, their camper, their vehicle, their children, their pets. But where's the regrets? There's no alibi for what humanity does to this world, and no alibi for AI corporates, leaders, their AI products. They're not mirroring back the ethical library of not just Panama Project, but better include Bakhtin in the mix. There's no alibi for being in this world and not acting with a moral compass. So that's my stump speech. It'll go up on YouTube. I won't give it a like. I won't give it a share. I won't even peek to see how many shares it gets. I suspect not more than one, two, sometimes none, these videos I make. But I have to shun AIs that reduce me to likes and shares and views. So, yes, I'm a poet of answerability, a spiritual poet of free verse. And so was Bakhtin, if you understand the curse he was under in Stalin's day. He dared not speak out too much. He was already banished to the gulag. He lost his university positions in philosophy. He was the most brilliant of his generation. But only after his death did somebody step forward and give him his due. And I'm in that line of somebody's. That's me, David Boje, and I hope this has been of benefit to you. Bye now. See you later.